All right, so I want to get started here, and as we look and continue really with pronouns, except now we're going to look at what's referred to as I'm going blank. Pronominal. Pronominal. That's it. Sorry, pronominal suffixes, which is a pronoun. It's a pronoun and more. And we're in chapter 9 of the basic biblical Hebrew, and I want to talk a little bit about. Again, more about pronouns, but this time more of what's called a pronominal. I'll get it eventually. If you look in the Exodus 15, verse 2, you might remember the context here is, of course, the Israelites have left the oppression under Egypt, but they're being chased by the Pharaoh and his army. And the Israelites could cross over the Red Sea, and there they are witness to the God's wrath coming upon the Israelite or the Egyptian army in the Red Sea. And so what does Miriam and the ladies and the people do? They sing a song, and in the song they speak about the Lord is my strength, and he has become my salvation. Lord is my strength and my song, and he has become my salvation. So what's in this is this pronominal suffix, and is the word for strength. Remember, it's oats. And when you add to the pronoun to it, this pronominal suffix, when you add to it, you suffix at the end of the word, e, and ultimately, you're saying it's my strength. So God is my strength. It makes it personal. God isn't just strength in the abstract way, or just strength for the people and for the fathers or the people, but he's their strength at that moment. And after the centuries of slavery had been in, God's power isn't just some kind of distant idea. It's now personally experienced. And so the response is the Lord is my strength, and the strength is suffixed with the pronominal preposition or pronominal pronoun, and refers to as my strength. So many of us know and recognize, certainly understand God is strong, but it's not a theory. The challenge is to recognize that in the same way Israel does at this point, the Lord is my strength. And so when life kind of overwhelms us, when we come to fears and trials and weaknesses, this pronominal suffix, this little one, is actually just in this case, it's the first common singular, E. It's the Herrick Yod, the vowel letter. And it's just this one vowel letter, Herrick Yod, is added to there and to indicate that it's my strength. And so it reminds us that God's strength is not just something out there in the ether. It's given and available to us personally. We see that in the New Testament. Christ is fulfilled with Christ. Paul says, I can do all things through him who strengthens me, right? Philippians 4, verse 13. And it's that same truth, that God's strength becomes mine, personal. And so this little suffix makes the difference between theology just as on paper, right? Just something that's something to recognize, or to you write on and see it on paper, and theology that's built from faith in the heart and strengthened in the heart. Israel's saying not just about God, but saying to God, saying you are my strength. And so we have that same ability too to sing that. So as we go through chapter 9 here in the pronominal suffixes, it's kind of it's important to see how that little change can really have a big impact if we understand what it's really doing. And so let's begin I'm going to share the screen and go to the PowerPoint, and we'll start in chapter 9. Any questions before I share the screen? Let me see. No? Okay, good. All right, so let me open this up. Share screen. Oh, I got to do this first. That's right. All right, I have to do a two-step process. I forgot about that. Let me do this two two-step process. Okay, that movie recording. Okay, there it is. Okay. There we go. That. I think I need that. Back to. Okay, now I can share. All right, I think we're there. I think we're there. So, okay, everybody see the screen? Okay, we're good. All right, let's see you guys, most of you anyway. At least I'm going to change this. All right, I guess we got everybody. Okay. Trying to see what the best view is from my camera. Yeah. All right. All right. So as I mentioned, we're going to actually be looking at chapter 9. It starts on page 78. And I will say that sometimes this chapter I would say for me, when I took this class years and years ago, this is the chapter I struggled with quite a bit because I could not grasp a single concept. And I want to try to bring that out. But basically, the concept is that when we add a suffix, a pronominal suffix, to a noun or to a preposition or to the direct object or to the direct object marker, when we add it to that noun, we got to remember, we're basically taking two words and making them look like one, but they still get translated as two words. So this one word is going to have two different translations. And ultimately, the noun may be singular or masculine or feminine or plural, but the pronominal suffix will also be singular or plural or masculine or feminine, or So you have to take that into account, and that's what really blew my mind. It really took me a long time to sort of figure that out or understand it, and I still struggle with just applying it. So what I want to do is go through. Okay. Why didn't my screen not change? I changed my screen. Huh. Hmm. All right, let me stop because I'm changing screens, but your screen is not, your view is not showing up. So let me figure out why. Share. Okay, good. All right, so we're going to follow the order of the book, and we're going to use the PowerPoint as our guide. And stop if you have any questions. We'll try to answer questions as we go. So we're going to talk about the form and the translation of pronominal suffixes. The form is not hard, but I'm going to show you an easy way, a couple of easy ways to try to memorize or know these forms, these pronominal suffixes. The first you're going to look at it and you're like, okay, wait, that's a lot. I'm going to show you an easy way to make it simpler, that you don't have to learn it all. You just learn one thing and the rest applies. You see the differences. So don't freak out. We're going to look at how pronominal suffixes then are attached to nouns and what the implication of it is when attached to nouns versus how it attached to a preposition versus how it attaches to the definite direct object marker. So 3 different ways it's used, right? It's going to be used when actually there's 4. One is verbs. The 4th is verbs, but we're not doing verbs now. So here's the thing: once you learn this, you learn what happens when you attach it to a noun. You learn what happens when you attach it to a preposition. You learn what happens when it attaches to the definite direct object marker. And then later on, we'll learn the exact same thing, nothing new, attached to a verb. And basically, what we're doing here, we can build on and show. So what we want to see is that what the book talks about here is that pronominal suffixes are pronouns. That's what they are. And they're attached to nouns. We did chapter 8, personal pronouns. Personal pronouns were independent pronouns. And the significance about a personal pronoun is it functions as the subjective role. In other words, the subject: I am going here. I love her. We will study Hebrew. We will pass Hebrew. It functions as the subject. So independent personal pronouns that we did in chapter 8 are subjective. Subjective. Whereas the pronominal suffixes are attached to the personal pronouns, they are going to function objective or possessive, one of the two, and but never subjective. So it'll never be the subject. It's always going to be the object of the verb or the object of the preposition, or it's going to be possessive, making the noun possessive, and that's what it's going to do. So it's really that basic. We learned pronouns, independent ones, they function as the subject. Now we're going to learn pronominal suffixes, and they're suffixes because they get added to the word, right? And so just like we've already seen, we have our 1, 2, 3, and we add something to the end, that's a suffix, right? And if we add something to the beginning, it's a prefix. Put something in the middle, that's an infix. And so basically we're adding these pronominal suffixes, and ultimately they're going to tell us either if it's added to a noun, it's going to tell us that it is possessive. And if it's added to a preposition, it's going to tell us it's an object of the preposition: to me, with me, over there, or you're over there, something like that. That's not right. Anyway, when appearing on nouns, like I mentioned, it functions possessively. His book. There's the noun, book, sus. Sus. Well, try to do something off the top of your head and you go blank. Book, safer. His book, her wisdom. So it shows the possession in that case. When it's added to a preposition or the direct object marker, then it functions as the object to them. There's our preposition. There's the object of the preposition. Or the direct object marker, it's just going to be as a objective case, them. So if you look at the big picture, that's all we're doing. We're add something to the noun, and we're going to make it possessive. We're going to add a pronominal suffix, make it possessive. And we're going to add a pronominal suffix to the preposition, and we're going to make it's going to become the object of that preposition. And we're going to add something to the direct object marker. It makes the direct object marker the object itself, the objective. So remember, this is the key. This is the key thing that I struggled with. This is a word, and whatever word that is, and it has a number, a gender, and it has a person, number, and gender, right? Person is singular, plural, or the number is person, singular, plural, person's first, second, or third, and has a gender, masculine or feminine. But this is a word. It is a pronoun, and it has a person, number, and gender. And you have to remember that, because that was what threw me off for a long time. I just couldn't get this grasp. But if you can keep that separate in your mind, even though you've made one word, there's 2 different parts of that word. One is the noun or the preposition, and the other is going to be the object of the preposition or the possessive function of the preposition, or the possessive function of the noun. Okay? That confused everybody? Because I'm working hard at it. All right. So Okay, so here, this is what I just said. All suffixes have a person, first, second, or third, a gender, masculine, feminine, or common, right? We'll have first common singular, and we'll have first common plural, and a number, singular or plural. And so, again, a suffix has a person, gender, and number, just like the noun has a person, number, and gender, and they're separate, but they're combined. They're separate. They function separately. We'll translate them separately, but they come as one word in Hebrew. There are two sets of pronominal suffixes called type 1 and type 2. Don't let that confuse you. Don't let it overwhelm you, because all that is the type 1 are typically used for the singular, and type 2 typically used for the plural. And that's all that is. For the plural nouns, excuse me. So plural nouns and singular nouns. For singular nouns, I'll use a type 1 suffix. In the plural nouns, I use a type 2 suffix. And I'll show you how easy it is to see the difference. And I'll show you how you don't have to memorize the whole thing. Then, if you learn just the type 1, you'll know the type 2. And so we're going to make it easier, simplify it, I hope. Both sets have the same possessive or objective translation values. In other words, just because it's a type 1 or type 2, it doesn't mean they're translated differently. A type 1 is still going to be my, or, if it's a first common singular, it's still going to be my, whether it's attached to a singular word or to a plural noun, or whether it's type 2 or type 1. Type 2 is to a plural noun, type 1 is to a singular noun. It'd be my horse, my horses. That's all that's going to be. In general, type 1 suffixes appear in singular nouns and the direct object marker, and type 2 suffixes appear in the plural nouns. The preposition can take either, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So, any question? I know we haven't put it really in picture form yet, but generally speaking, that's all we're really doing. Every pronominal suffix has a person, gender, and number, and there are two types. A type 1 generally going to be with singular nouns, type 2, which is generally going to be with plural nouns. That's it. Okay. Now, here's what it looks like. So, coal is the noun for voice, sound, or noise, right? And so, coal has a person, a number, and a gender. In this case, it's masculine singular, and in this case, it's third person masculine singular, right? So coal is third person masculine singular. Now, here is the suffix. It is a type 1 suffix, and it's going to make it possessive. In this case, it is also, let me just double check, it is also happens to be third masculine singular. And so it is his, that's that word, and voice, that's that word. All right? It's really that simple and that basic. So with nouns, that suffix, pronominal suffix, is going to be possessive. And we'll have just like we do in everything else, we'll have a third masculine singular, third feminine singular, we'll have a first common singular, we'll have a third masculine plural, or we'll have a second masculine singular, second feminine singular, we'll have third plural masculine feminine, second plural masculine feminine, and a first common plural. So we'll have all those, just like we do for nouns, we'll also have for the pronominal suffix. With a noun, it makes it possessive, so we get his voice. Does that make sense, you guys? Okay? Okay. So now with prepositions, with nouns it's possessive, but not with prepositions. With prepositions, that same pronominal suffix, exact same one, is now going to function as the object. So here's our preposition. Normally that's a la, right? And that would be to or toward or maybe with. But if you just have the preposition, whether it be dependent or independent, whatever, without an object, you don't really know what the object of the preposition is. You have to have an object of a preposition. And so here the object is to who? To him. That is the third masculine singular, just like it was over here. Okay? Third man. So it's to him, with him, toward him. whatever the lament can be translated to him, with him, toward him, for him, those kind of things. All right, so that's nouns possessive, prepositions objective. Exact same pronominal suffix, just functioning differently when it's with a noun versus with a preposition. Now, once with a direct object marker, you remember the direct object marker, right? It's this or, I remember right? Yeah, excuse my handwriting. Okay, our direct object marker. And what does a direct object marker do? You remember?
It points the noun or the subject of the sentence.
Not the subject. You're close. The object of the verb, right? So in English, we got subject, verb, object. Some other languages don't have to follow that strict order. Greek does not. I don't believe Spanish does either. I don't really know. I don't know anything about G. I got enough to learn. And Hebrew does not. Okay. Now it's not that they don't have an order. They do, but it varies, and that variation is for different reasons a lot of times. So here, to know what the object of the verb is, David loves Hebrew. You just say David loves, you're like, loves what? Well, David loves Gabriella, or David loves Hebrew. That's the object of the verb, right? So for the Hebrew, they'll use a direct object marker. Now, normally it's a definitive. That's why the double D there, right? It's a definitive direct object marker. It marks the definitive object to the verb, not just any object, the definitive. Gabriella is a pronoun. That's a definitive. So either, remember, your definitives can have the definitive article with the kamete, with the patake with the dogish, or it can have it can be a pronoun, or excuse me, a noun. What's the word? A proper noun, or it can be a pronoun. So any of those three would make it definitive, right? And so they would use this definitive direct object marker so that you know what word is actually the object of the verb that's being spoken about, or being the action that's being done. So when you put the pronominal suffix, the exact same pronominal suffix, third masculine singular, remember this is just like a word. This is a pronoun. So it's two different words. That's one word, that's another word, that's one word, that's another word, that's one word. That's the direct object marker. Normally, we don't translate the direct object marker. Normally, it's pointing to the object that's definitive. But now it's going to make that direct object marker function as the object. So now this third masculine singular, the direct object marker now functions as the object, as him, because it's third masculine singular. If it was third feminine singular, it'd be her, or excuse me, she, kind of thing. So that's the different ways that we can see this pronominal suffix being used. Any thoughts so far? Have I confused everybody? Here's the key. That's one word. That's a second word. One word. That's a preposition. One word. That's the direct object marker. And when it's with a direct object marker, it makes the direct object function as the object. It's not, now it's not just pointing to the object, it is the object. And here in the preposition, it gives the object to the preposition, to him, with him, for him, by him. And with the noun, it makes it possessive. If you can recognize that those are two different words, that will save you a lot of trouble. So this is the direct object marker, preposition, and the noun. And then we add the pronoun, make it possessive, pronoun, make it objective, and add the pronoun and personal pronominal suffix and makes it objective. That will really go a long way, I hope. I know that's what I struggled with for a very long time, just to recognize that. But if you get that clear in your mind, then that will go a long way for you, I hope. So here's this big giant matrix. Do not learn this. I'm going to show you what you have to learn in a little bit. This is what you're going to learn, but I don't want you to learn it this way. I'm going to make you learn it. I want you to learn it with the Lamet in front of it, which we're going to see in a matrix a little bit later on here, okay? And then once you learn that this becomes almost automatic if you know what to look for, what's different, okay? Here's a couple of things about this. Now let me just clear this up a bit and maybe try to expand it a little bit here. Okay, so starting with third masculine singular, there's our third masculine singular pronominal suffix. With a noun, it's possessive. It's his or its if it's a common, or if the noun itself is like neuter or something. With a preposition or with a direct object marker, it's objective. It's him or it. That's all that is. Third feminine singular, this is the Kamates he that you normally find for the end of third feminine singular words. And it's going to be her, that's possessive, or its, or her. In English, her can be possessive, can also be, that should be she, I think. Her house, that's possessive. Yeah, that should be she, I believe. I'm not sure why that has her.
Because
Anyway.
sometimes when you say to her, going to her.
Yeah, that might be it. To she. Yeah, you're right. You're right. That would make more sense. Okay. Okay, so second masculine, there's the final cough with the kamates in it. Second feminine singular, there's the final cough with the shava in it. First common singular, there's a heric yod. Third masculine plural, again, we are talking right now, this is the suffix, right? And so third masculine plural is with this hey and sagol and final mem. Third feminine plural, the hey, sagol, final noon. Second masculine plural, the cough, sagol, final mem. The second feminine plural, the cough, sagol, final noon. And then first common plural is the noon with the shurik. And let me clear markings here. All right, so this is the type 1, or this is all type 1. This is the type 2. I'm going to talk about difference in a minute. All right, now let's talk about type 1 still. What is different about that? Normally, when you get to the end of a word that's feminine, you'll have that, right? What is different about that? This is third feminine singular, but how do you know it's not just that? Because when you look at the end of a feminine singular word, it will a third feminine singular. It will be the kamete, but here's a third feminine singular, type 1 suffix, and it's a kamete, but it's different. Why is it different?
Doggish.
Yeah. Well, okay, you're right, but it's not a doggish. That's the point. The thing I want to point out here. So that little dot right there is a my keep. I think it's on page. Yeah, it's on page 79. My keep. No, my peak. Excuse me. I knew I said it wrong. My peak. And basically, how do you know it's not a dogish? It can't be a dogish lene. Why? Dogish lene is only in Bagat Kafat letters. Well, the hey is not a Bagat Kafat letter. Can't be a dogish forte because a dogish forte could be any letter except what?
Gutturals.
Gutturals. That's right. Cannot be in a guttural. So it has to be. Let me get this fixed. I don't want to do that. Come on, fix it. Why are you not changing for me? Oh, that's why. Got it. Okay. There we go. All right, so get back to type 1 and type 2. All right, so that has my peak in it, and so a third feminine singular, meaning her for possessive or her or it for the object, is going to have the my peak in it, and that's how you know it's not just a third feminine singular noun or word itself. There's our final cough with the come-ates, final cough. So here's the thing to notice. See the patterns? That's what I wanted to bring out. See the patterns? Second has a cough, final cough. The masculine has the come-ates, the feminine has the shava. Get to that in a minute. Notice our third person. Well, they have a hey, they have sagol, and then the third plural has the masculine has the mem and the feminine has the noon. Our second person plural, the cough for second person, and the masculine is with the mem and the feminine is with the noon. Those things, just if you kind of see those little patterns, it make it easily more recognizable and less memorization. It's easier to memorize. Easier, put it that way. All right, what else I want to bring out here? Okay, so we're not going to memorize the type 2, but you do want to be aware of what's different. What is different between the type 1 and the type 2? What is different? Can you see?
The accents and the yods.
The yod, yeah.
They all have a yod.
Yod.
It's really, for the most part, the same thing in most cases. It's the same thing. We'll talk about first common singular in a minute. But they add a yod in every single case. So here's the point. You learn this. All you got to do is for, hey, if it's going to be type 2, which is for plural, then it's going to add the yod. All right. That's really, that should make it easier in terms of trying to dissect all this. Now, first common singular, both are yods. What's the difference between the two? Well, just look at it and tell me what's the difference between the two.
One has the hearing, and the other one has the comment.
Potic. Right. One has the heric and one has the potic. So the type 2, the plural, has the potic, and the singular has the heric. And that's the difference. So if you can kind of remember that, you find out. So all type 2s add the yod to whatever was the type 1. And the first common singular already has a yod, but the heric is the singular and the potic is the plural. And that's it. I remember potic is the plural because potic starts with a P and plural starts with a P. That's how I remember it. Okay. And the first common is with the noon and the shurik, and there's our noon and shurik, but we add the yod and for the plural form, and that's it. So you do need to learn this. I'm going to show you a little easier way to learn it in just a minute. Just hang on there. But you don't have to learn this as much. You do need to know it. But once you know the type 1s, you can easily know the type 2s by remembering you got a yod. I remember the second person singulars are the final coughs. And this is a little bit vulgar, but I could tell the difference between the masculine and the feminine because the masculine has a come-ates It's like a little dangly thing. Well, guys have a little dangly thing, and the girls have a shabab. That's how I remember. Okay. The third person masculine plural both have the hey, but we have the typical final mem for masculine and the final noon for feminine. Final mem for masculine, final noon for feminine. That we've already seen that before, by the way, but we use the cough for the second person. That's how I remember it. So if you sort of see those patterns, it makes your memorization a lot easier. But I don't want to suggest you learn this standalone. We're going to learn it here in a minute with the independent or the dependent preposition llama in here in a minute. Okay, let's move on. So I can get through all this because it's a lot to get through here. All right, so now there are some alternate type ones. You know, as language evolves over time, there are different maybe groups of people, different periods of time where they use different forms. So some of these have alternates, but the good news is they're almost all recognizable from the type one. They're only in the type one, and they're only in the third person. That's it, and the first common singular. So the third persons, singular, plural, masculine, feminine, can have an alternate form. Its translation is the same. And normally it's aligned with or looks pretty much like the type one, right? So the alternate form for the Holem Vav is with the Shurik and the Hey. The alternate form for the third feminine singular, it has the Kametz Hey with the Mapik, is the Kametz Hey, but the Kametz is underneath it. Yeah, so it's, and in the alternate form of the first common singular, the Hirik Yod vowel, that's a vowel letter, remember? That is a vowel letter. Is with the noon. And the alternate form for the third person masculine and feminine plural with the hey, the final mem, the final noon is just drop the hey. So they're not a lot different. There are some differences, and so hopefully you can just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. You will find sometimes they'll use either or. Okay? Hebrew doesn't want to be easy, but it's not really that hard. Okay, so let's talk about how you use the pronominal suffixes. We're going to talk about nouns right now. It's important to observe that type 1 and type 2 are very similar to one another. That's what we just pointed out, right? We just added our yod to it, right? So, however, all type 2 suffixes have that yod. That's kind of what we said earlier. And basically, that's how you recognize the difference. So here is the plural for horses. How do I know it's plural for horses? Because type 2 go to plural nouns. To a plural noun. All right? Generally, most often times. Type 1 go to singular nouns. So I know automatically if it's a type 1, that is a horse, not a horses. This is horses, not a horse, because it's using a type 2. And the plural form dropped off. We're going to get into that in a second, okay? So that's all they're showing here is that the difference between type 1 and type 2 is generally that yod. That's what they're trying to show you. We already talked about that. So we should be reasonably good. I'm going to stop here and ask if there's any confusion or questions now. All right. So with masculine nouns, not feminine, masculine nouns, we'll talk about feminine in a minute. Type 1, singular with a singular noun, right? Sus is horse, singular, 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 singular. Okay, the type 1, we're talking about a third masculine singular. So this is his horse. Third feminine singular, there's the mapik, her horse. Second masculine, second feminine. The masculine is the final cough with the kametz. The feminine is the final cough with the shabab, your horse. First common singular, making it possessive, be my horse. Because all these are possessive. That's what it does when it goes to a noun. Third masculine plural. Okay, now horse is still singular, but the suffix is plural. So it's not my or your or his, it's their horse, their horse. That's why you got to recognize the difference. This is the noun, it's singular. This is the pronoun, it's plural. So it's their horse. Here is their horse. It's feminine, but we don't in English differentiate between feminine or masculine for the plural forms of third person. Same thing with second person, masculine and feminine. We just say your, but here's the singular horse and the second person plural pronominal suffix for your plural, your you guys, or you girls. And then here's the first common singular for the our horse. Not first common plural, I mean, for our horse. All right? Does that make sense? You see what's happening, right? Remember, it's two different words, and we're talking about this column is talking about the type 1 suffix, not the noun. We know the noun is singular because we add the type 1 suffix. Type 1 is used with singular, type 2 is used with plural. The difference between type 1 and type 2 is we add the yod over and over again. All right, it's pretty much the same thing over and over, but the yod is added to it. Now, the other difference is the word, because we're adding a type 2 with a plural noun, the noun itself is plural. It's his horses. The actual plural form for a masculine would be what? The here yod final mem. That would be the plural form. That dropped off and got replaced with the type 2 suffix. That's how you know it's horses. Okay? So you're using the same suffixes, third masculine singular, third feminine singular, second masculine feminine singular, first common singular, third masculine feminine plural, second masculine feminine plural, and first common plural. You're just adding the yod, and you're adding the yod for the type 2 to a plural noun. There's the plural noun. There's the plural noun. I know I'm reiterating this because I know how much I struggled with it.
Brother Dave.
Yeah, and there is, just one sec, there is the, in this case, the second masculine plural form, second masculine plural of the pronominal suffix. Yes, sir, go ahead, brother.
Please, at my end, there's kind of tab blocking my view. I cannot see the last part of the type 1.
It's your volume thing.
Yeah, it looks like a volume kind of thing. And,
I'm confused, you can't see what?
The last one.
Oh,
there's something blocking my view.
oh, yeah, I'm sorry, you know, that's
There
because
we
I
go.
had my, when I have my mouse on top of the slide over here, then that comes up, so there you go, I apologize, thank you very much.
Okay.
Dave, can you explain again, back in type 1, third masculine plural, their horses. See that there is a comments, and why is there a comments there instead of a segol? And because looking at the chart back on page 78, it shows that it has a am I looking at the right one?
Yeah, but now look on page 79.
Uh,
As an
Okay.
alternate form.
okay. That's why I was confused. All right.
It's using the alternate form. That's a good point. I'm glad you brought it up. Yeah. And you said their horse is. Remember, it's singular. Their horse.
Horse.
Because that's the part that's really going to be difficult for us English speakers. Now, maybe not some of the others. And I'm telling you, I had a really hard time. This is one of my worst chapters because I could not differentiate between the noun, person, number, and gender versus the pronominal suffix, person, number, and gender. They are two different words. And so they have their own person, their own number, their own gender. And in Hebrew, you combine them, but it's still two different words, so we get their horse. And not, that's how, I don't know. Okay, so for masculine nouns, pretty straightforward. We're going to add a type 1 with the singular nouns. Singular nouns, I wish they would have wrote nouns here. Singular nouns, we had type 1. Plural nouns, we had type 2. Plural nouns, we had the type 2. Only real difference is that we add the yod in it. What that does is that makes, it's only added to plural nouns, and it is in fact still the same thing. This is still a third masculine singular, his. This is still a third feminine singular, her horses. This is still a second masculine singular. This is your horses, feminine singular, your horses, plural. And first common singular, there's that padak right there. And padak for P for plural, my horses, plural. Now, third masculine plural, here's the plural, both of the noun, horses, and the pronominal suffix, their horses, your horses, plural, our horses, plural, 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 plural. That's the difference. And that's the point that you really got to, for an English speaker, that's where maybe some of the other languages I don't really know, but that's where I think the most trouble comes for me. Not only do you have to know the form of the third masculine or the pronominal suffixes, type 1 and type 2, you have to understand that it's a separate, has its own separate identity, number, gender, and person. Okay, so for example, this is exactly what we're talking about. Type 1 and type 2 suffixes can be, well, a little bit similar, right? Here we just add the yod, and basically our horse singular, it's a type 1, right? And we know it's a type 1, and because, well, we know the form, we add the yod, we know it's a type 2. Type 2 goes to plural nouns. So we know that is plural, horses. We just lost the plural form, which was at one time that our plural form for, and that fell away, and that took its place. And we get our horses. That's all they're trying to do. I already mentioned this, the difference between the type 1 for the first common singular, right? Here's the first common singular for my singular horse, type 1 singular horse, my horse, versus plural is that padak. Padak, I think that's how you spell it. Could be padak, plural. That's how I remember it. They both start with a P. Now for feminine, it's even easier. We don't change these suffixes. They're all the same. Okay, that didn't change. All right, they're not going to change for the type 1, which goes with singular nouns, or the type 2, which goes with plural nouns. And the difference is in the masculine, our plural endings were with the final mem here, yod, and it dropped off, and we replaced it with the type 2. Here, we actually keep, and we actually basically strengthen the tov at the end. So our plural is the holem vav tov, and our singular normally is the kametz hey, right, for feminine, or a tov with a segol or whatever the other ones were, right? That's what happens here is this hey strengthens. It doesn't really drop. It does drop, but it strengthens and becomes the hey becomes a top. And that's all that really happens. And everything else remains the same. So once you learn the type 1 and you realize, oh, type 2 just adds the yod to it, and the type 1s don't change, it's easier with the feminine words because they really don't change, except for the hey changed to a tav. And here, the tav stayed the same. So it becomes a little bit easier. So unlike the singular where you drop the plural form, and here in the feminine form, you don't drop it. There's our holem vav tav, there's our holem vav tav, holem vav tav. It remained the same. We just add the type 2 suffix to it. Here we had the type 1, and the only change is that comates hey, that becomes a tav. And basically what it's doing is strengthening, because a hey is weak. Hey at the end of a word is weak, and it wants to go away. It wants to run away. It doesn't like being visible, so it wants to get out. So what happens is sometimes it will be replaced with something stronger, because it's going to be something stronger because you're adding something to it. When you add something to it, it needs more strength. And that's how I remember that, okay? So that's all that's happening there. Make sense? All right. So same thing. This is, you see the tav is in the blue here. The tav is in the blue. Here's our plural form for laws, right? The laws, it's the exact same thing with laws right here. And all we did is add the type 2 to it. That's it. Here's the singular form would be with the hey, comates hey, but the hey dropped or got strengthened, however you want to look at it, with the tav, and then we had the third common singular. And it's his law, possessive, his law, possessive, his laws, because it's a plural for type 2. Make sense? Okay. All right, so this is zero new. There's not a thing new here we're going to talk about. Nothing. Don't make it complex. Nouns will always, most often, not all the time, experience vowel changes. Well, we already know that. As you lengthen a word, as you lengthen something, a word, in either way, either direction, that will change the pronunciation because the vowels will change. And it changed because the syllables change, right? So this is a 2-syllable word. I'm going to do it in blue so you can see it here, I think. This is a 2-syllable word, right? This is the pre-tonic. And this is the tonic, right? I didn't mean to do the highlighter. I don't know why I got the highlighter. Oh, okay, I see why. Pre-tonic and the tonic, right? That's where the accent is. Okay, that's where the accent goes. So when we lengthen that word, what happens? Well, now we get a different syllable. Now we got 3 syllables. And so this is the pre-tonic. That's the pre-tonic. And that's the tonic. And so because you lengthened it, because you changed the syllabification, then this reduces. What happens to the pro-pre-tonic? It prefers a shava. If it's a guttural, then it prefers a hatef shava. And the pre-tonic, it prefers the long vowel, so kamates. In the tonic, we're just adding the heric yod for the pronominal suffix. So, and that's all that's happening. We've already seen this. Here we have, again, there's our syllabification, right? That's the pre-tonic. That's the tonic right there. And now we have, there's one, no, that's not one syllable. Let's get it right. That's one syllable. And this would be one syllable. So now we have the tonic, the pre-tonic, and the pre-tonic. But it's closed. It's a closed with a final shava, silent shava, and as a result, it wants the short vowel. And what generally is happening, if you just think about it, they want to put the accent towards the end. So if you want the accent towards the end, you need to shorten the pronunciation or the vowel sounds at the beginning to give more emphasis at the end. That's all that's happening. Hopefully that makes sense and not too confusing. You don't really need to know all that, but I think it's helpful personally to see why and what's happening. But basically, you're seeing vowel changes. Notice the consonants do not change. You added consonants here because you're adding the pronominal suffix with the suffix, but the consonants still remain the same. Evid, there still are evid, same consonants. We just added the pronominal suffix that changes the vowel system. That's all it does. That's all they're trying to tell you. so you don't get confused like it's not a different word. Oh, it's a different word. No, it's the same word. It's just the vowels change because you've lengthened it. That's it. Make sense? All right, so now with monosyllabic, meaning one syllable, mono, when you add the pronominal suffix to a monosyllabic, not every monosyllabic word, but some that are really used a lot, like brother. Brother is, if I remember right, well, it's right here in front of me. I don't have to remember it. The ach. Father is also one. I believe that's av. I think that's father. Could be wrong. Those will actually change their spelling into the stem word, right? This will actually add a hirgyod to it, and that's actually part of. And the reason what's happening is years and years and years and years ago, Hebrew actually had case endings just like Greek does now. They had declensions, and the hirgyod or the yod was part of the genitive case to make it possessive, right? Because that's what we're doing, making it possessive. Well, on some words that are really, really common, if it's really common, that's used a lot, it probably has a lot of variations because something that's used a lot is going to get varied a lot. It's going to get changed a lot by different groups or different time frames or whatever. And that's the case here. What happens is the old case genitive function marker, the genitive marker comes back. That yod comes back. And that's all that's happened. So basically, in certain monosyllabic words like brother or father, you'll have this hirgyod added to it. And it's actually from the original spelling, long before classical Greek. Before classical Greek, they had a different form, and the form included declensions or case endings, just like Greek does. And but that's long since gone away out of Hebrew, but sometimes it'll come back, and there it is. So that's all they're trying to bring up. Nothing else has changed. All the suffixes are the same, but you may see the word brother, ak, and now you're going to add a pronominal suffix, and when you do, it adds that hirgyod to it. And you're like, where'd that come from? Well, that hirgyod is just a remnant from before classical Hebrew, and so it found its way back. It misses its brother, missed his father, so it came back. You guys got to get my sense of humor. Okay, all right. So they're just letting you know, hey, be aware. There's some monosyllabic, not all syllables, words, one syllable that, because of centuries of changes, some of the old things might pop in, and that would be that yod, hirgyod thing. Okay, that's all they're saying. But everything else is the same. Type 1 is still with a singular noun. Type 2 is still with a plural noun. That's why that's plural. That's why that's singular. And this is still third masculine singular right here. That is the hirgyod is not part of the pronominal suffix. It's part of the noun. It comes back from the noun, not the pronominal suffix. That's the pronominal suffix. That's the pronominal suffix, etc., kind of thing. All right. And so this has its own person, number, and gender, just as the noun does. All right. I reiterate that because I just know how much trouble it was for me. And hopefully we'll make it less for you. There's the pronominal suffix, and it's plural. So that's why it's there, and that's why it's still brother, because that is still singular. Here, it's plural. That's why it's there, brothers. There's plural, singular, plural for the noun. And that's all it's doing, okay? Let's see, what slide number am I on? Oh, good, we're doing good. Yeah, we'll finish in about 2 minutes or less. Now, when you go with prepositions, the difference is the pronominal suffixes are exactly the same. Once you learn them, you know them. They're good. They're good for your nouns, which make it possessive. They're good for prepositions, which makes it objective. They're good for a direct object marker, which makes it the object, and they're going to be good for verbs, which also makes it the object. And so once you learn them, you learn them. And what you want to learn is it's just easier to pronounce. It's easier to look at and think about with the preposition lamet. Preposition, it's exact same ones. There's our Holem Vav. There's our Kametz Hey for the third masculine singular. There's the final cough with the Kametz for the second masculine singular. Final cough with the Shavav. Nothing's changed. We add, though, the lamet to it. And instead of making it possessive like a noun, this is key, it makes it objective. In other words, the preposition means to, or toward, or with. But to what? Well, it's to him. How do you know it's to him? Because that's there, and that's third masculine singular. It's to her. Well, how do you know it's her? Well, because it's third feminine singular. To her. And that's all it's doing, guys. So it's the exact same thing. Once you learn the pronominal suffixes, they apply in all these applications. You just got to understand the application. For noun, it's possessive. For the preposition, it's the object of the preposition, and that's all that's doing. Any questions? Okay. This is what I would recommend you learn. And just know, you can learn, if you want, you can learn this. That's fine. I don't care. But it's certainly, that's what you want to recognize, because you need to recognize it so you can recognize this. But sometimes it's easier to learn it as a word than say a pronoun. I say that's really wrong to say, because a pronominal suffix is a word. It's a pronoun. Him or his, her, whatever, him. So sometimes it's easier to learn it with the dependent preposition, independent, or the dependent preposition. So this is lo, la, laka, lach, li, lahem, lahen, lakem, lakin, and lanu. Sometimes it's easier to learn it that way, as long as you realize that that's the preposition, not the lamet is a preposition, not the pronominal suffix. Okay? And over here, the difference with prepositions, though, is a preposition will only take either type 1 or type 2. Let me clear this up, okay? So the independent preposition with the lamet only takes the type 1. The preposition forget the spelling, I think that might be it. All meaning on. The lamet is to, all meaning on. We'll take a type 2 preposition, or type 2 suffix, pronominal suffix. That's all they're saying here. So it's not like there's going to be a type 1 and a type 2 for the lamet. No, it's only type 1. It's not like there's a type 1 and a type 2 for the preposition all. Nope. It only takes a type 2. That's it. And in the book, I think they talk about which ones take which. That might be in the next chart. I don't remember. No. I think they talk about which ones it takes which ones. Let's see. Yeah, on page 84. Page 84, number 2, 9.11, number 2. Some preposition will take a type 1 suffix. Preposition lamet, la, to, tor, forward. Bait, in, on. Eam, with. That's a preposition. Eam is with. Ape is also with. All take the type 1. Prepositions take type 2 include the all that we were just looking at. L, 2 or 4. And then the tachat, which is under, and of course the after, which is achare, after. So those will take a type 2 suffix. It doesn't really matter. I don't know that I try to memorize any of that personally, because the only issue is going to be, can you recognize the preposition? Can you see it versus seeing the pronominal suffix? So some will take a type 1, some will take type 2. I don't believe they take either or. It's one or the other. Okay, that's all that's trying to tell you. Now, when you get these special, really fun prepositions, the cough and the min. The cough is what? At. Trying to remember, I'm going to bring at. I'm going blank. Like. Something else too. And the min is from or out from. Okay, those prepositions will have an alternate form in their spelling. In other words, when you learn cough, that's what we learn as a dependent preposition, but there's another form of that same preposition. We just didn't learn it then, but now it comes up. So cough can come out here as this camo. That is another form of the same cough. And so it comes up with the pronominal suffixes. There's another form of min. We actually saw a couple of them, and here it is. Here with the Dargis forte right there. The mim would be another form of the same thing. So they're just telling you that for the cough and the min from, there are other forms of this here, and basically those are what they are. But the pronominal suffixes didn't change. Yeah, okay, that's the pronominal suffix. So this is the pronominal suffix. That's the other form. Kama. Excuse me, kamo. So here's the pronominal suffix, and here's the other form. Instead of min, it's memin with the final noon. Well, it's not final because it has the pronominal suffix at the end of it. That's all they're trying to tell you, that there's another form of it, so it doesn't look like min. It doesn't look like cough, but it is cough and it is min. Okay? But the pronominal suffixes are the same. Now with the direct object marker, we've already mentioned this, and here's our direct object marker. Remember, a direct object marker, it marks the object, the direct object that's definitive. So a noun, it's going to function as the object of the verb that either has the a definite article, is a proper pronoun, a proper noun, or a pronoun. And those are all the definitive forms. Actually, there's one more, I think. And normally you'll see this direct object marker to mark the object. That's what it does. It marks the object, but only marks the definitive object, definitive direct object. All right. So in Hebrew, when you add the pronominal suffix to it, that object marker becomes the object itself. And so in the image, there's in the image, there's God, Elohim, and there is bara, created, and there he created, and there's the object, him. In the image of God, would be a construct form. This is chapter 10, which we didn't get to. In the image of God, he created him. He created bara, third masculine singular noun. He created. No, that's a verb. He created. And third masculine singular. What did he create? He created him. So this is the direct object marker right there. It's this that's been changed because you added that to it. You add the pronominal suffix, and it becomes him. So it's not pointing to him. It's not marking him. It is him. That's the point. Okay? And so here is the direct object marker and the preposition 8. Now, what they're trying to show you here, and it's on page 87. No, 86. Yeah, 86. You can have the preposition right here, preposition 8, right? And 8 means with. And you get the direct object marker. And they look exactly the same. Exactly the same. And when you add the pronominal suffix to it with the direct object marker, it becomes him. But with the preposition, it becomes with him, because it makes, there's the preposition with, and there's him. Here, that becomes him. How do you know the difference? Well, here's the difference. It's really, really simple, okay? The direct object marker will have the holum to it, the O sound, the long O, O. And here's how I remember it. Direct, definitive, direct object, O, B, J, E, C, T. It adds the holum, the O. That's how I remember. That is for the direct object marker, and the heric is for the preposition. So when the pronominal suffix is added to the direct object marker, the 8, then it becomes him. When it's added to the preposition, the 8, it becomes with him. Him, third masculine singular, her, third feminine singular, you, or second masculine feminine, common, me, masculine plural, them, second masculine plural, with you, and common will be us. And that's how you know the difference. It's because that heric versus the holum right there. And I remember the holum is the direct object marker because object starts with O. And I go, oh, that's the direct object marker. Because it's the object and it has the O sound. All right, I'm just trying to tell you little tricks that help me, so hopefully it helps you. I don't know. Make sense? Trying to separate the confusion. How do you know this is the direct object versus the preposition when you add that pronominal suffix to it? Well, if it has the O sound, the holum, then it's going to be a direct object marker, and it's going to be just functioning as the direct object. If it has the heric, it's functioning as the preposition with the pronominal suffix, so it's with him, or me, or you, or them, whatever. Okay. Hopefully that helps. I think the last slide. No, we're almost done. Oh, yeah. Okay, 2 more slides. And I got to finish up. So same thing with im, and yam. Yam means people. It's a noun. That's a noun. Im is a preposition meaning with. Or is it meaning with? Yeah, with. Okay. So with the preposition, what does the pronominal suffix do? Well, the pronominal suffix becomes the object. With him, with her, with you. That becomes the object, right? That becomes the object. It has its own person number, and this is the preposition. Right, so it's with you, with me, whatever. So that's im, with. Now, but is a noun. It's people. And what do you do when you put a pronominal suffix with a noun? It doesn't make it the object. It makes it possessive. His people, her people, your people, my people, their people, your people, our people. That's the difference. So they're trying to help you see. So, sometimes we get confused between im and Am is a noun meaning people. Im is a preposition meaning with. Add the pronominal suffix with him or his people. That's the difference. Okay. And here's the big master chart. This is the type 1. This is what I'd recommend learning. You can learn it standalone, or you can learn it with the lamet. And just remember that once you add the yod, you get the type 2, and there are some alternate forms of the type 1, but generally speaking, they're pretty much the same. For the third, they're going to be, by the way, only third person. They'll be the third person and then the first common. That's the only place you have the alternate form, so it's not everywhere. So third person or common, singular. Third person, singular or plural, masculine or feminine, common, first person, singular only. Pretty much the same forms. We just added the noon. Here, we basically pretty much the same form, but the com HSC is underneath, and here it's a shirk with the com or the hey. Here you just drop the hey, and you get everything else is the same. And type 2, biggest thing I want you to know is type 2 is for plural nouns. That means the noun is plural. The suffix itself may be singular or plural, and it may be feminine or masculine, depending on what this is. Does that make sense? Okay. I hope that makes sense. This is what I suggest you really spend some time with right here. Know the differences and kind of be able to recognize that, and you'll be good. The biggest thing is to be able to recognize that they're two different words mashed together. They both have their own person. They both have their own number. They both have their own gender. So when you translate, you got to make sure you translate both. That's the point. Independently. Okay. Type 2 is going to use the plural nouns. Type 1 with singular nouns. Hopefully that makes sense. I know it's a lot. Try to make it as simple and succinct as possible. So, any questions before we close? Because we're already late. Okay, then you got the homework, and definitely spend some time with Andres and Damien on Friday if you have any questions. And this section will be on the test. I do know that. But I really don't think it's that complex once you see the difference and you start to recognize the differences between them. That's where I struggle with the most. I just couldn't recognize the difference. So. All right. Close with a short prayer, and then we'll get move on. Our Father in heaven, we thank you for this opportunity to study from your word and study for the Hebrew language. We pray you give us discernment, wisdom, and strength and endurance as we try to dissect and apply these things in our life, that we can draw closer to you through your word, and give us a deeper understanding and application in our own personal life, and we get up others as well to come to know you in a more personal manner. Thank you for all the students with us, and thank you for their endurance and continued efforts. We pray your blessings upon all. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. All right, guys, thank you very much.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Stay safe.
You
All right, you too.
Appreciate it, Dave.